Hey there, and welcome back to Rooted in Relationship. I'm Raylee Pierce, PCI certified parent coach and mom of two, and I am here today to talk about something you've probably heard before, connection before correction. But I want to be honest with you. I think this phrase has been watered down. It's become almost a parenting cliche, and somewhere along the way, we've lost what it actually means. So today I want to give you the real thing, not a technique, for calming down a tantrum, not just a script for managing a meltdown, something more fundamental and honestly much more powerful. I'm talking about what Dr. Gordon Neufeld calls collect before you direct. It's about engaging your child's attachment instincts, their heart, before you ever ask anything of them. And when you understand this, it really does change so much about how you relate to your child, your teen, your tween. Not just the hard moments, but the ordinary ones, the morning routine, the transition to dinner, the request to put on shoes. Because here's the truth. Most of the resistance we face with our children isn't really about defiance. It's about connection or the lack of it. So, what does it mean to collect a child? It means engaging their attachment instincts so they're oriented toward you. So, kids want to be close to you, they want to be like you, they want to follow you. It's not about calming them down or regulating their emotions. It's about making sure their heart is with you before you ask anything of them. And I want to pause here because for those of you who are people of faith, this shouldn't surprise you or surprise us. I'm a Baha'i, and the Baha'i writings remind us that the heart is central to everything. Thy heart is my home, Baha'u'llah says. The heart is where connection lives. It's where relationship takes root. And when we're trying to engage our children's cooperation, we're not engaging their head, we're engaging their heart. So think about it like this. Attachment is the pursuit of proximity. Children are wired to seek closeness, physical closeness, emotional closeness, a sense of belonging, significance, being known. These aren't luxuries, they're needs, deep driving needs. And here's what Dr. Neufeld's work shows us. When a child is preoccupied with these needs, when they're unsure about, does mommy like me? Am I okay? Are we okay? There's no room for anything else, not cooperation, not learning, not following directions. Their whole system is occupied with the question of connection. But when those attachment needs are met, when the child feels filled up with your presence, your delight, your warmth, something shifts. They can rest. And from that place of rest, they can follow. This is what collecting is. It's filling them up. It's answering the question, are we okay? Before they even have to ask it. It's engaging their attachment instincts so they're naturally oriented towards you and then giving the direction. I want to give you an image that has changed how I think about this. Dr. Neufeld compares attachment needs to physical hunger. We know that children can't learn on an empty stomach. We know they can't focus when they're worried about, where their next meal is coming from. That's why school breakfast programs are so important, not because eating is how children learn, but because when their physical hunger is satisfied, they're free to learn. Attachment hunger works the same way. When a child is hungry for connection, and so often, guys, we talk about this in a derogatory way, right? We say, oh, they're just doing it for attention. We say that endlessly because intuitively, actually, we know that our child needs connection, but we're saying it in a derogatory way. We're saying they're just needing attention as if that's a bad thing. So we need to shift our understanding and recognize that this is a need. It's hunger for contact, closeness, a sense of belonging, a feeling that they matter to you. They cannot rest if these needs are not met. They cannot, what we would, we want them to be independent, right? We want to grow up independent children, but they can't venture forth. They can't cooperate freely. All their energy goes into seeking this connection or attention. But when you fill them up, when you satisfy that attachment hunger, they're free. They're free to play. They're free to learn. They're free to follow your lead. Now, here's the thing. How long does a meal last, right? If we think about, we give them breakfast, just a few hours later, then they're hungry again, right? And they get a snack, a mid-morning snack. So how long does a moment of connection last? So Dr. Neufeld suggests maybe 15 minutes for a young child. Yeah, not long. Maybe an hour for an older one. Then they need to be filled again. This is why collecting isn't a one-time thing. It's a rhythm, a dance. You fill them up, they venture forth, they come back to be filled again over and over throughout the day. So, what does this actually look like? How do you collect a child? It's really simple, simpler than you might think. And it doesn't require a long conversation or a special activity. It's about small moments of contact and connection that happen before you ask anything. Okay. I think about Abdu'l Baha here. If you've ever read accounts of how he greeted people, you see the most beautiful example of what collecting looks like. The way he would look into someone's eyes, the warmth, right, in his face, the way every person who met him, even briefly, felt like they were the most significant person in the world in that moment. Children who met him remembered it their entire lives. He gathered hearts. That was always the first thing. Before any teaching, any guidance, any instruction, he gathered the heart. This is what we're learning to do with our children. This is where it starts, with their eyes. Not calling instructions from across the room, not talking to the back of their head, getting down to their level if needed and getting their eyes. Eyes are the windows to attachment. When your eyes meet, something happens. A moment of contact, of recognition, of, I see you. A warm smile before any words, before any requests, a smile that says, I'm glad you exist. I'm glad you're here. We're okay. This isn't a technique, guys. It's genuine delight in seeing your little one, your child. Children can feel the difference. If you're fake or you're not feeling it and you're trying to squeak a smile out to delight in them, they're going to feel whether that's real or not. So this is real. And then we want a nod of connection, something that says, yes, I'm with you. We're together in this. We might ask a question that we could easily get them to nod to. Oh, yeah, it looks like you've been building a lot with your Legos today. They can nod to that. Oh, it's been so cold outside. I was so cold this morning, weren't you? Right? Something easy, something that they can just very easily be like, yeah, I was super cold, or yeah, I've been building all day. I've made all of these towers. Uh, friendly physical contact, a touch on the shoulder, a hand on their back, scooping them into your lap if they're young enough. So physical proximity is one of the most basic attachment instincts because closeness communicates safety and belonging. And then there's also like using their name with warmth, right? There's something powerful about hearing your name spoken with affection. It says, you're known, you're seen, you matter to me. You'd be like, oh, Joshua, let me see your building. Oh my goodness. There's so many doors that you created. I can see where you can go out this way and that way. I love this, Josh. Right? That's so powerful to hear your name and so loving. These aren't big things, guys. They take seconds, but they answer the child's deepest question. Are we okay? And and when that question is answered, they can hear what comes next. So here's where most of us get it backwards. We tend to give direction first. We call out from the kitchen, hey, time to put your shoes on. We announce from across the room, homework time. We interrupt their play with, we need to leave in 5 minutes. And then we're surprised. We're surprised when they don't follow. And we're repeating ourselves, when they resist, when they seem to be ignoring us or defying us. Like I would say the number one challenge we have is parents will be Googling, like, when your children don't listen. This is why we're not collecting them before we're directing. But think about what's actually happening, right? You've given a direction to a child who isn't oriented toward you. Their heart isn't with you in that moment. They're absorbed in something else, or they're not sure where they stand with you, or they simply just haven't been collected yet. It's like trying to lead someone in a dance when they haven't taken your hand yet, right? That would be weird. um, so the sequence matters. You collect first, then you direct. Abdu'l Baha taught that first and foremost, or first and most important, is love, not second. Like that doesn't come second, not alongside, first. The Baha'i teachings on education, are so clear about this ordering. Love comes before instruction. Connection comes before direction. This isn't permissiveness, it's wisdom. It's understanding how hearts work. And it looks like this. You walk over, you get close, get their eyes, get a smile, maybe touch their shoulder, rub their back. Let them feel your warmth and your presence for just a moment, then give the direction. The direction hasn't changed. You still need shoes on, you still need homework done, but now you're asking a child whose heart is with you, and that makes all the difference. Let me walk you through some everyday moments so you can feel the difference. Let's talk about one of the, I would say, most common challenging time of the day for a lot of parents. This is the morning routine. So, the old way, it would look like you call from the hallway, time to get dressed. Come on, we're going to be late. And it might even be a little more rushed or urgent than that. And your child doesn't move, right? You call again, louder. Really, come on, it's time to get dressed. We're going to be late. Still nothing. And by the third time, there's so much frustration in your voice, and resistance, right, is now really deep with them as well. So let's collect first. You instead, right, you're going to go to them. Maybe they're still sleepy. Maybe they're playing. So you sit on the edge of the bed or you crouch down beside them wherever they are. You get their eyes. You smile warmly. delight in seeing your child. They're so cute, right? They're so sweet. And maybe you have a tween or a teen. And so that cuteness is like, oh dear, it's a little heavier maybe with the tween and teen, right? So, but you can still smile. They're still sweet. There's some part of them that is so sweet. Maybe you stroke their hair or rub their back. With a tween or teen, you could come in and you could rub their back, right? And not say anything because they're so tired and getting up so early. It's just so against their biorhythms. But you say, good morning, good morning. Maybe if it's a little one, you say, good morning, sweet one. There you are. You just let that land. Just that little moment of connection right there. And they feel your presence. They feel your warmth. They're waking up to you, not just to demands, but to you. It's time to get dressed now. I put your clothes on the chair. The request is the same, but you've collected them first. Their heart is with you. They're far more likely to follow. And of course, in coaching, we would work through this. We would tweak things because all children are different and our relationship is in a different place. Maybe it's a very tense relationship right now. So this is going to take more work, this collecting, right? Because they're not used to it. So we're all at different points with our different relationships. And so that's part of the coaching work is that we tweak it together. But this is giving you a place to start. And you can certainly do this on your own. And then another time is the after school reconnection. The old way, your child would walk into the door, or not into the door, but they walk from outside, and you might be like immediately like, hey, how was school? Do you have any homework? Oh, and don't forget, we have soccer tonight, right? Like you're kind of, it's just kind of like, oh. So what we would want to do instead is here they come through the door or into the car, and you give them your attention, right? You smile, you delight in them, your warmth, your smile, your warmth. It's just a vibe, guys. It's a vibe. It's an energy that's so needed. Like to see your grumpy face would be like a real downer. And if you're irritated and frustrated from the day and you're bringing that into this presence, and then your voice has an edge to it because you're overwhelmed. I mean, I get it. I get it. I mean, life right now for parents is absolutely like challenging, super challenging, no doubt. But we're going to get a lot of what we put out there, we're going to get back. So we've got to know that our energy is so important. So we basically, we get their eyes. You might open your arms if you're outside of the car or they're coming in the door, right? Hey, you, I'm so glad you're home. We want to light up every time we see that little face, every time we see that tween, every time we see that teenager, we light up. Oh, hey, it's so good to see you. I missed you. We don't even have to say, how are you? Or anything. We can just speak about how we feel about them. Like, so good to see you. It was a long day without you. So this is, not to be rushed. You let all of these things land, your words, your hug, and you let them feel that they're home, not just in the house, but they're home with you. Maybe you offer them a snack. Hey, I've prepared a snack for you. Let's go chat at the counter. Maybe you sit with them, for a few minutes and you're filling their cup after a long day of separation, right? They're telling you about their day and you're just there to listen. You're not there to judge. You're not there to teach anything. You're not there to give another perspective on what happened on the playground. You are there completely for them in that moment, listening, engaging with warm eyes, soft eyes. And then later, after they've been collected in this way, when they're filled, the conversation about homework can happen and it will go much smoother. It really will. So now let's talk about that transition to dinner. The old way, right, might be like, hey, dinner's ready. Come to the table, guys. And you're shouting this from the kitchen while they're absorbed in their play, and they don't come. They continue to play. And then you are like, guys, dinner, it's getting cold. Now, now. Again, they don't come, right? They kind of tune you out. Maybe they don't even hear you at all. So you're really irritated now and you're going over to them, but you're so mad that you might even physically be in their space. Like you might even be grabbing at them, or maybe you're throwing their toys. I mean, we can get really irrational when we don't feel heard as parents. So instead, right, they're playing and you go to where they are. You get down on their level, right, with whatever they're doing, and you're showing interest in what they're doing. Oh, wow, look at that. I've been working hard on this. Get those eyes, smile warmly, rub their back, right? You're connecting. You're getting a working relationship here. And you say to them, as you've gotten the eyes, gotten the smile, gotten a nod from them, you say, okay, dinner's ready now, love. Time to come to the table. You've entered their world first. You've connected. Now you're leading them into the next thing. And they're willing to follow because their heart is with you. And you might even say, hey, we can clean this up together. And did you want to save this tower? We can make it so it's safe, right? You can take care of what they care about before the next thing. So let's even take another example of just when your child is resisting. When you notice resistance around something, this is your clue. This is your clue. I want you to pause and internally ask yourself, have I collected this child? Is their heart with me right now? Do I have this little child's heart? Often, or this big child's heart, often resistance is simply a sign that they haven't been collected. They're not defying you. They're really not. They're not with you yet. So you go back, you get their eyes, you reconnect. You might even name it, hey, I think we got disconnected here. Let me try again. Smile, a touch, warmth, then the request again. And this isn't giving in. This isn't being permissive. This isn't being permissive. You're still the one leading. You're just making sure they've taken your hand first. I want to share something that Dr. Neufeld teaches that changed how I approach connection with kids. The key to satisfying attachment hunger, the key to truly filling a child up, is to provide more than is pursued. Let me explain what that means. Children pursue proximity. They come to you for hugs, for attention, for closeness, and our natural instinct, especially when we're busy, is to give just enough, right? To meet the need and be able to move on. But when we give just enough, they keep pursuing. They keep asking. They seem needy or clingy, and we feel drained. Here's the counterintuitive truth. When you provide more connection than they're seeking, they become satisfied. They can rest. They're freed up to venture forth on their own. Dr. Neufeld shares a beautiful example of this from his own parenting. When his young son would run to greet him, all that pursuit of proximity, the hugs, the daddy, I missed you. He learned to give more than was pursued, more squeezes, more closeness, more contact than his little boy was even asking for in that moment. And what happened? He became so satisfied and he could rest and he was freed up and he ran off to play. He ventured forth because the attachment hunger had been truly filled. And even when Gordon was like calling him back, going, "No, Braden, I want to hug you more. I need to give you more kisses." Braden's like, "Dad, go away, Dad. I'm done with you." And this is really what we're after, not just connecting, but filling them up, not just meeting the need, but satisfying it so deeply that they can rest. There's a beautiful irony here that I think reflects, a deep spiritual truth. Parents who generously pick up their toddlers, who freely give that closeness, they end up with children who want to walk on their own 2 feet. Parents who push independence, who say, "You can walk, I'm not carrying you," end up with children who constantly want to be carried. You can't push independence, but you can so fully satisfy the need for closeness that independence emerges naturally. This is how I think also as a spiritual being, I think about how this is how God parents us, drawing us close, filling us up so we can venture forth. I want to be clear about what collecting is not, because I think this is where things can get confused. Collecting is not waiting for your child to calm down during a meltdown. That's a different situation entirely. So collecting happens, before frustration, before overwhelm. It's a preventative. It's the foundation that makes everything easier. Collecting also, it's not a technique really to get compliance. If you're doing it to manipulate your child, right? I'll smile at them so they'll do what I want. Children feel that. Kids are really smart. So it has to be real. It's genuine delight, genuine warmth. You're not performing connection, guys. You're actually connecting. This can be tough if you're in a spot right now with your child and there's an edge to your relationship because they've been really difficult and there's tension and there's a part of you, this is very natural, when there's tension in a relationship and things have been hard and you've been pushing and they've been pulling and it's a tug of war over everything, power struggles, and what you've come to believe as a lot of defiance. This can be hard to switch mindset into because it requires an element of truth to this warmth and connection that we have to have. Otherwise, again, it's this manipulation. It's being used as a tool instead of just really understanding how humans, how we how we work, how we work in relationship with other people. And so it's not the same as like um, giving choices or giving consequences either. It's not like kind of like a strategy or a trick. Those things maybe can be helpful, right? At times to give a choice or to give an explanation, but they're not what we're talking about here. Collecting is about the heart, not the head. It's not about convincing them. It's about connecting with them. And collecting is not about permissiveness. You're still the one leading, you're still giving direction. The shoes still need to go on, the homework still needs to get done, but you're doing it in a way that works with their attachment instincts instead of against them. And I want to step back for a moment and talk about why this matters so deeply. When we skip the collecting and we go straight to directing, we're working against the very design of them, of the human being. We're asking them to follow when they haven't been gathered. They haven't been gathered in. And so we end up relying on, pressure and consequences, and we're forcing to get compliance. But here's what the research shows. 95% of problem behavior, quote unquote, is emotionally rooted. Most resistance, most defiance, most misbehavior isn't really about the child being bad or even oppositional. It's about something happening inside them. Often, it's about connection. When we understand this, when we stop seeing our child as the problem, we start seeing the behavior as communication. And often, when it's communicating, what it's communicating is, I'm not sure we're okay. I haven't been collected. I'm not ready to follow yet. Like, I don't feel like I'm on the same page with you. Uh, and the context for real change, you know, is the relationship. Like, it teaches that this is the relationship, that not the in the incident. So what you do in the moment, for example, of misbehavior, that's not what changes things. What you do in that moment, it's what you do in the relationship that creates the conditions for everything else. So collecting is really the heartbeat of the relationship, the warmth, the delight, the invitation, the authenticity of that you truly are delighting in your child. You really are lighting up when you see them. It's the rhythm. This is a rhythm of how we relate to each other. We're understanding. I'm giving you instructions 101 on how human beings, how we need to be directed. We have to we have to have someone's heart before we can direct them. Like, this is just 101 human relationship building. And it's how you keep their heart oriented towards yours, so that when you need to lead, they're ready to follow. And it's actually a very beautiful dance. It's an invitation, right, to dance with you. And if you think about dancing, it's such a great uh, image, because in order to, like, here you have two people at a dance party and you want to dance with this person, you wouldn't just go grab them and start dancing with them. I mean, you might, but that would be really uncomfortable. And you might get them snatching their hand away from you and kind of looking at you like you're insane and not want anything to do with you, right? It would be about going and being warm with your eyes, a smile. Hi, I'm Ray Lee, and I'd really love to dance with you. Would you like to dance with me? Right? It's kind of this little invitation. So I think the most important thing is that we have to give a child an invitation to exist in our presence. And if we think about that, an invitation to exist in your presence, right? This is what a child is longing for, not just to be tolerated, not just to be managed, but to be delighted in, to have someone whose eyes light up when they walk into the room, to know that their very existence brings joy. When that is missing, when we've lost that, right? When a child doesn't see delight in their parents' eyes, or when they feel like a burden or an inconvenience, something deep inside them is wounded by that, and they become defended. They harden, they stop being able to receive love when it's offered. But when a child knows they have an invitation to exist in your presence, when they feel your delight and your warmth and your genuine gladness that they are here, they can rest, they can soften, they can follow. And for those who are listening who are Baha'is, this should resonate so deeply. This is how God relates to us, anyone of faith, really. God works in this way. In one of our writings called The Hidden Words, Baha'u'llah writes, O Son of Being, thou art my lamp, and my light is in thee. And O Son of Man, I loved thy creation, hence I created thee. So we are the object of divine love, right? Our very existence is an expression of God's delight. If this is how our Creator relates to us, surely this is how we are called to relate to our children, to offer them that same invitation, to let them know through our eyes and our presence and our warmth, I'm glad you exist. You belong here with me. This is what collecting communicates, even without words. So, because attachment hunger comes back, just like physical hunger, we need rituals of connection built into our days, predictable moments where we fill them up. And um, here are some natural opportunities. First thing in the morning, before any demands, any rushing, any agenda, just a moment of warmth and welcome. Good morning. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. I missed you through the night, right? Oh, you were in my dreams, right? After any separation, after school and after work, after they've been playing by themselves for a while, whenever you come back together, just take a little moment to reconnect before you move into any logistics. So before transitions, like before you ask them to stop one thing and start another, collect them first, then direct. At meals, right? A moment of eye contact, of presence, of we're together. And then at bedtime, filling them up with connection before the long separation of sleep. Ooh, enough contact and closeness that they can really rest through the night. This is really hard for my working parents that I coach because they get like an hour before bedtime. Like they pick up after daycare or school, and it's already like 5:45, 6 o'clock, running home to get them dinner and then starting the bedtime routine. And there's not a lot of time. So we do have to make sure that these are connecting times. So when we pick them up, we got to really, delight in seeing them and with our eyes and our presence be really warm. And it doesn't have to be long. Remember, we're talking about moments, eyes, smile, touch, warmth. What matters is that you're consistent so the child knows they can count on being filled every day in this way by you. And it was so interesting because I want to acknowledge the fact that this can feel really hard, especially again, if you are in a moment where there's some tension with your child. And also when we're tired, and so much of parenting, we're just doing so tired, especially when you're rushed, especially when you're touched out and you're overwhelmed, and when your child is being difficult. It's one thing, to collect a child who's sweet and cooperative. And it really is an entirely other thing when they're pushing your buttons all day. I get that. And here's what I've learned through coaching so many families and helping them with this. Children who are the hardest to connect with are often the ones who need this the most. the resistance, the defiance, the pushing away, sometimes that's the sign of how hungry they are. They're not sure the connection is real, so they're testing it. And our job, as hard as it is to keep offering, to keep collecting, to keep filling their cup, even when they act like they don't want it. So hard to do. And you won't do this perfectly. I don't do this perfectly, right? I mean, I still have to collect my own 20 and 23-year-old. Um, there will always be, I think there's just always going to be days when you have to skip the collecting and you do go straight to directing because you just need the shoes on and you're already late. I get that. I mean, we're not going to be perfect and we're not just going to be robots about this. That's okay. This isn't about perfection, guys. It's really about a posture, an orientation, just a way of seeing your child, not as someone to be managed, but as someone whose heart you're trying to keep, someone whose dignity is sacred, someone whose nobility is real, even when their behavior is hard. So let me leave you with this. We've been dancing with children for thousands of years. This isn't new. Our grandmothers and great grandmothers knew this intuitively. You don't bark orders at a child from across the room and expect them to follow joyfully. You go to them, you gather them in, you bring them close, and then you lead. Somewhere along the way, we lost this. We got busy. We got distracted. We started treating our children like little employees who should follow directions without any relational context. But children don't work that way. They are creatures of attachment. They follow those they're connected to. They cooperate with those whose hearts they're sure of. So collect before you direct. Get their eyes, offer your smile, convey your delight. Fill them up with the answer to their deepest question. Are we okay? And then lead them into what's coming next. Not because it's a technique that gets compliance, but because this is how relationship works. This is how you keep your child's heart. This is how you stay connected through all the demands and transitions and ordinary moments of your days together. And for those of us walking a spiritual path, this is more than parenting strategies. This is how we reflect divine love in our homes. This is how we offer our children what God offers us, an invitation to exist in his presence, a delight in our being, a love that gathers us in before it asks anything of us. That's the work. It's sacred work. And you're doing it. Thanks so much for being here today. And if this episode helped you see something differently, I'd love for you to share it with another parent who might need it. And come find me at innerlifeparenting.com. I'd love to connect with you there. Until next time, remember, you don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to keep showing up. Rooted in relationship. Thank you so much. Take care.